Hey everyone, and welcome back. Today we're diving into a case that gripped the UK, one that involves a beautiful young life tragically cut short, a misleading red herring, and a killer hiding in plain sight. We are talking about the horrific murder of Joanna Yeates. Our story begins in Bristol, England, around the Christmas season of 2010. Meet Joanna Yeates. Joanna was a talented 25-year-old architect, full of life, and recently relocated to Bristol with her longtime boyfriend and colleague, Greg Reedon. They were an established couple, loved by their families, and had just settled into a lovely apartment at 44 Cannings Road, Clifton. Now, Friday, December 17th, 2010, was supposed to be a relaxing night. Greg had traveled back home to Hampshire for an early start to the Christmas holidays, leaving Joanna in Bristol to enjoy some much-needed me time. After work, Joanna met up with some friends at a local pub called the Bristol Ram. She had a great time, but by 8 p.m. she decided to head home. In the short walk back to the apartment, she stopped at Tesco Express to pick up a pizza, and then grabbed 2 bottles of cider from another store. At 8:40 p.m., the receipts confirm Joanna successfully paid for her dinner. This is the last verified sighting of Joanna alive by an external source. Around 9 p.m., Greg sent her a casual text, but she didn't respond. He wasn't immediately worried. Joanna was known for being a little slow to reply. But when 10:30 p.m. rolled around and still no answer, Greg tried calling. Still nothing. By Saturday, Greg's casual concern had turned into real worry. But it wasn't until Sunday, December 19th, that Greg returned to Bristol because he couldn't shake the terrible feeling that something was wrong. When he arrived at their apartment, the scene was chilling. The front door was unlocked, which was immediately strange. Inside, everything seemed normal, except for the absolute silence. Joanna's wallet, her keys, and her cell phone were all lying there, abandoned on the counter. Her beloved cat hadn't been fed in 2 days. Why would Joanna leave her door unlocked and walk out without her keys or phone, especially if she was just popping out? Greg immediately called the police. Police quickly confirmed, based on the pizza receipt and the abandoned items, that Joanna had made it back into the apartment that Friday night before she vanished. They feared the worst: abduction. The search for Joanna became a national headline. The police organized massive searches. The media were camped outside Canninger Road, and the fear was palpable. The police even offered a hefty reward of £60,000 for any information. Tragically, on Christmas Day, December 25th, the worst fears were realized. A couple walking in a remote, snow-covered lane about 4 kilometers from Joanna's apartment discovered a body. It was Joanna Yeates. The forensic analysis delivered devastating news. Joanna had died from brutal manual strangulation, choked to death. Her body showed 43 distinct injuries, indicating a ferocious struggle and powerful resistance. Investigators also confirmed signs of sexual assault or serious physical violence. Crucially, though, the frozen state of her body made immediate fingerprint identification difficult, but they knew they had the killer's DNA and prints. Now here is where the case took a shocking turn and ruined an innocent man's life. Among the neighbors giving statements was a man named Vincent Tabak. He lived in the apartment right next door to Joanna. Vincent gave a crucial piece of testimony, pointing the finger at the landlord, a retired teacher named Christopher Jeffries. Vincent claimed Jeffries had been acting strangely, hurriedly parking his car that Friday night. Based on this flimsy testimony and the media's hunger for a villain, Christopher Jeffries was arrested. He became the face of evil overnight. The media, without proof, tore him apart, focusing on his eccentric appearance and long white hair. For days, Jeffries endured intense interrogation and public humiliation. But after thorough investigation and 2 days in custody, the police cleared his name. Christopher Jeffries was completely innocent. The real killer was still out there, and he was watching the chaos he created. As the police reviewed the case, they started looking closer at the person who had so enthusiastically pointed the finger, Vincent Tabak. Vincent, who was originally from the Netherlands, was interrogated online after he traveled back home for Christmas. His story kept changing. More tellingly, when asked for a fingerprint sample, he initially refused. The police pressed hard, and eventually, Vincent relented. When the forensics team compared his sample to the evidence found on Joanna's body, the results were definitive. The fingerprints belonged to Vincent Tabak. The seemingly harmless neighbor was the killer. Vincent Tabak was arrested, though he continued to deny murder, claiming it was only manslaughter. But when police searched Vincent's apartment, the true horrifying motive was revealed. Investigators found a collection of disturbing, violent video content. They found hundreds of non-consensual photos of women, including images of children. And most chillingly, they found 3 photos of Joanna's body, taken after he had dumped her. His internet search history confirmed he had been obsessively tracking the case while simultaneously viewing violent online content. Police concluded that Vincent, fueled by his addiction to violent content, used the opportunity when he knew Joanna was alone to enter her apartment, perhaps under the pretense of borrowing something, or maybe he already had access. When she resisted his advances, he brutally choked her to death. He then hid her body for several hours before driving 4 kilometers out into the countryside to dump her in the snow, hoping to frame the whole thing as a random, cold case murder. On October 28, 2011, Vincent Tabak was found guilty of murder. He was sentenced to life imprisonment with a minimum term of 20 years. The case of Joanna Yeates is a truly devastating reminder that evil does not always wear a scary mask. Sometimes it lives right next door, waiting for the perfect opportunity.